In this video, I went down to check out a brand new construction community called Kindred that's built out by a builder, a brand new construction builder called D.R. Horton. And honestly, I was pretty excited to go check it out just simply because of what, like many of you do, I saw the pictures online, I saw what it had to offer. So I wanted to go down there to see for myself if the pictures really matched exactly what was there. And then honestly, while there, I was pleasantly surprised with everything that they had to offer. I mean, I checked out the amenities, I looked at the homes, I talked to the sales rep to really get a good feel and idea of what they have planned out for the community and really what was the whole goal and idea. And I mean, there was a lot really that they had to share with me, and I'll be going and sharing that with you here. I'll be sharing with you exactly where this place is, what they have around the area, what's in the community as of right now, and what's to come. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. So this community, I mean, I think the key word for this community really is value. You do get quite a bit of value for the buy-in, really, because I mean, in this community, I mean, you can buy a townhome, as of right now, at least, you can get in there for around $350,000, which is great, especially considering that, in the greater Orlando area and Kissimmee and St. Cloud, I mean, average price points, especially for newer construction homes, are at least in the 400s to mid 400s, and that's again for one of your smaller homes. So it definitely to be able to get into that neighborhood, and especially for the amount of amenities it has, and the amount of access it has, is pretty great. Right now, at least in that neighborhood, you have plenty of entrances and plenty of exits that help alleviate, a bit of the burden when it comes to traffic and getting in and getting out. Along with that, it's important to note that I think one of the key pieces that does give it a lot of value is that, you're about 2 traffic lights away from the Florida Turnpike. And once you're on the Turnpike, I mean, you're about 20 minutes away from, the Orlando International Airport, maybe 25 minutes away from Walt Disney World. You have plenty of shopping that is easily accessible. I'd say if we're going to talk about drawbacks, I mean, I would say that at least as of right now, you maybe would be heading over to the 192, which is one of the main arteries that cuts through St. Cloud, cuts through Kissimmee, takes you all the way to Disney World. And if I'm talking about drawbacks, then it's just the amount of retail, isn't so close. I mean, here in Central Florida, I'm going to be very frank with you, we're spoiled like crazy. If you're telling any one of us that you have to drive 20 minutes out, I mean, for us, that's like, whoa, that's way too far. That's an eternity. We're we don't like it. If retail shopping is 20 minutes away from where I live, that's no good. On the other hand, I was talking to a buddy of mine that lives, out in the Midwest, and he said, listen, man, 20 minutes, I mean, that's groceries. I mean, for us, I mean, sometimes we have to drive 40 minutes to an hour to get to, at least a lot of the retail, larger retail. So if you're talking about, shopping malls, big, giant malls, things like that, that they say, it's going to be, a bit of a drive to be able to get to that. The fact that you have it only, 20 minutes away, 25 minutes away isn't so bad. So, it really does come down to perspective and really what the expectations are. So here you do, for us in Florida, at least in Orlando, 20 minutes is a little bit more than we'd like to go, to get to Target, to get to some of your other retail options, your JCPenney, your Kohl's, those kind of things. But it doesn't mean that there isn't, there aren't other things available. There is, some retail that's maybe about 10, 15 minutes away. What's neat about this community, again, it's a master plan community. So, it's well developed and it's been thought through and planned out. They have lots and land that's just simply for retail. I mean, walking distance in the community, retail, they would groceries, medical, dental offices, things like that, things that most people tend to want to have right nearby, built out right there. So again, there's a bit still to be developed. However, the fact remains is that, because it is a couple years in, you already have plenty that is built out in the area, in the immediate area. So hopefully you're getting some sense of exactly what kind of value this community has to offer, especially compared to other areas in Orlando. Now, I want to go ahead and pull up the map to really give you an idea of exactly where this neighborhood is, especially in reference to some of the major roadways that connect This community with some of the major landmarks such as the airport, downtown Orlando, downtown Kissimmee, Kissimmee Lakefront Park, and Disney World, because again, those are places that most people like to go. And that way you can have an idea of exactly, how long it would take you to get there, or even to see if this is worth it for you and your family at all. Now, before we do that, I would sure appreciate a like from you all. Just tapping that like button would help me out so much, because it would help get this information out to other people just like you who want to know everything of what it's like to live here in the greater Orlando area. With that said, let's go ahead and pull up that map. Okay, so we got the map pulled up. I just wanted to give you a quick reference to exactly where the Kindred community is located here in the greater Orlando area. So you got downtown Orlando just right here. You got the I-4, Interstate 4. Heads all the way down to Tampa. You got the 417 that cuts right across here. And then you have the Florida Turnpike that essentially connects it all. It's the main way in and out. For people who live in this community, it can get you connected to the I-4 and the 417. So the Kindred community is right here. Now, to give you an idea of how far it is from downtown Orlando, let's go ahead and show you that. All right, so it's about a 30-minute drive to get to downtown, mainly through using the Florida Turnpike and I-4. Next, you can easily get to the Orlando International Airport using the same turnpike, and the 417 would take maybe around 25 to 30 minutes is the time frame. Obviously depending on traffic and what terminal you're going to, because there's 3 terminals. So depending which terminal you go to, it could easily change the amount of time it takes you to get to the airport, specifically wherever you are going. Now, a couple other things to show off is, for example, some shopping. So the Loop Mall tends to be kind of a great go-to for people that are living near the Kindred community. Again, you're looking at about 25 minutes to get there. Another shopping area is the Florida Mall, which is a little further away, but it's probably one of the closer shopping malls in the area. So that's getting closer to the 25-30-minute mark to get there. Now, for us who live here, we know that usually to get to the Florida Mall, it does take a little bit longer, because it tends to get congested the closer you get to that mall, just because it's a fairly popular mall. It's one of the few larger malls in the greater Orlando area. Now, another important thing to look at, of course, if you're going to live in the greater Orlando area, if you're going to live here, you're probably going to want to know how far Disney World is. So for that, you're looking at about 27-minute drive. So 25-30 minutes, really, depending on which park you go to. And then another shopping area that many people like to go to is also Disney Springs. So that's, right next to Disney World. So, it's kind of right there. It does get very congested in that area. So, that 30 minutes, can easily turn into 35 minutes. It's a great place to go, great area to hang out at. And then another great area to go to just to spend time with family is the Kissimmee Lakefront Park. Definitely one to check out. So that's about 10 minutes away. Great place. If what you have in the neighborhood is not enough, Kissimmee Lakefront Park definitely has a ton of open space. Plenty of places, plenty of things to do there. Splash pad, playgrounds. A lot of open space, a lot of greenery, and it's actually a really nice view, especially at sunset. So it's just one of those things that, it just gives you more options. You have plenty of options, many things that you can do just from living right there in that Kindred community. Now, you obviously can clearly tell this is technically located in the Kissimmee area. For some people, they might find that to be a drawback simply because they like the idea of specifically living in Orlando, Florida. Most of the time that has to do with wanting a particular school or specific schools, although they do have a K-8 that's slated for that community in specific. So I mean, that is something that will be, really beneficial to anybody that lives in the neighborhood. And definitely, I would recommend doing your own research, checking out the public schools in the areas. That way, what they have to offer. However, this still is considered part of the greater Orlando area, the greater Orlando metro area, and which are obviously they're both clearly intertwined socially, economically, as far as integration goes. So now with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the amenities in the neighborhood and really what the community has to offer. Okay, so right now I'm in the Kindred community over by the amenities, and I just wanted to kind of showcase them a little bit and show them off, give you an idea of what they're like, what they look like around here, really give you kind of a ground level view of it all. But right behind me, you can see that there are actually some tennis courts back there. So if you're into tennis, that's a great way to stay active. It's fairly large. It looks like there are about 3 or 4 courts back there that a couple people can play on. Behind me this way, you can see, picnic tables. You can see that there is a canopy just down there. It's actually quite a few canopies. Let me show you another one right behind me. And I like this one because it's actually closest to the playground right over here. And another thing I want to point out, which is kind of nice, I don't know if you noticed by the recording here, because it is a fairly sunny morning right now when I'm recording this, but there are plenty of mature trees all around. Even got this one right now, right behind me, giving me plenty of shade. So if you're out here with the kids, if you're out here just spending quality time with the family, one of the nice things is, especially when you get into the summer months, you'll be able to get some shade, whether it's from the canopies, the trees. You'll be able to stay relatively cool. And if it gets too hot, just right over that way, behind me over that little mound, back over there, you'll find the resort style pool, which we're gonna go ahead and check out. Okay, so here we are inside the pool area now, just to give you a good glimpse of exactly what's out here. Oh yeah. See, it's a very nice resort style area. Got a nice spot here for the little ones. Go by their feet at about 5 feet there. Easy to spend a nice afternoon here on those hot summer days. So I'm actually back here right now, just walking through and then really enjoying one of the trails that they do have. It's not like a very foresty kind of trail where it's gravel and you're out in the woods. It's really among some of the amenities that they do have. But I mean, one thing that is great, if you haven't noticed yet, is all the shade from the trees, and it's on both sides. So it's definitely a nice spot to go take a walk in the morning or in the afternoon with the family. And again, it's just right there, right off of the playground. So you can go from there, walk through, enjoy a nice afternoon. And again, like I said, it just doesn't get any better when you have these great trees. They definitely did a really good job making sure that they kept as much as they possibly could that was already here, instead of just knocking everything down and then building. So again, it's just one of those things that, especially if you like outdoors, if you like getting a little bit of exercise, a little bit of walking, it's definitely a good spot, something that you can enjoy. And all throughout the way, you'll definitely find some benches where you can stop, sit down, tie your shoe, do whatever you need to do. So plenty of ways to stay active in this community for sure. Now I want to kind of just give you a good view of what that's like. Just kind of show you some of the more mature trees around here, because again, they're pretty grand. I mean, they're very large, and it does really say a lot about how the community really thought all this through, especially when it comes to the trails. All right, so you can see right there, they got their resort style pool. Some of those mature oak trees. Got a little bench area with some art. A great place to walk the dog, bring the kids out for them to have a good time and run around, let off some energy. And here's that trail I was just down. Again, look at these trees. And right now it is very, very sunny. But you have plenty of shade back here, and it makes a big difference. I step out for 2 seconds out into the sun, and you can really feel the difference between being in the sun and being over here in the shade. So again, you got plenty of those mature trees right here. And again, this is not like, again, you're not deep in the woods kind of trail. This is just really something that, you can just leave your home and you can see the homes. They're right back here, right? Whoever lives here can seriously just walk out from the backyard right onto this trail. All right, this is another one of their green areas. You see you can have a much larger playground right behind me. And then over here, what's particularly great is if you're really wanting to be active, you play a lot of soccer, they have this open field here with some soccer goals. So again, it's just another one of those areas that you have a lot of green, a lot of ability to get outside and enjoy the beautiful weather out here and just stay active. Here we got one of their much larger playgrounds. See, you got a bigger one for the bigger kids. One here for the smaller ones. And of course, as parents, we come out here and we don't want to worry too much about our little ones just taking off. Because, man, these guys, I don't know about you, but my kids, especially my middle child here, he's a quick one. He's just waiting for you to look the other way and take off. This playground is enclosed off with a gate. So, I mean, me personally, that's something that definitely would make me happy as a parent living here. Along with all these benches where you can just sit down, relax, and watch them burn all that energy that we know they have. Okay, so I just got out of the sales center and talked to the sales rep. And one of the questions I did ask him, just to really get an idea of what the plans are for the neighborhood, was to see, basically how many more homes, how much more time do they have here before they're all done. And he told me that, they're selling quick. They're definitely selling a lot. Obviously, people need to move. They need a place to live, like anywhere else. And even though they have a good amount of sales volume and the homes are still moving, I mean, they just opened up their third phase, which in itself has 4 different phases within that. And so they'll be here for about another easy 4 or 5 years. And there's still a lot that's yet to come for this particular neighborhood. But what I really think is going to be a great advantage for many of the people who decide to buy here is the fact that they really already have a lot of what they've promised to bring, which is resort style pool, the trails, a lot of the amenities, the gym, the fitness center, the clubhouse, all those things, they're already built out. They're opened. And right now, I believe they have just 2 of the pools that are built out. And in those 2 pools, they each have their own fitness center. And they do plan on opening a 3rd pool, which makes a lot of sense for a neighborhood of this magnitude, of this size, to really be able to deliver and a bit of quality when it comes to these pools, so they don't get overcrowded in the summer, especially, is the fact that they have several of them located to different spots of the community. So I mean, you'll never be truly too far from any of the pools that they have here, which is pretty great, because sometimes you'll have a community, they'll have a pool, but it'll be on the other end, which makes it a pain, and so you don't really get to take advantage of that. So I mean, I think that's one of the things that they've done really well here, built out. Now, obviously, with a lot of these amenities, I mean, this does have a CDD. If you don't know what that is, it's a community development district, which essentially, the way I always try to explain it is, it's like a major or a larger HOA that kind of helps keep everything organized. So, for example, they're bringing shopping to immediately outside the neighborhood. So you could even, walk to, a grocery store that's going to be possibly built nearby, dentist office, doctor's offices. Things like that can be just like, right outside the neighborhood, or really just, I mean, it's almost really inside the neighborhood. It's right in front. So so obviously that adds a lot of convenience, and a large part of that comes from the fact that the builder took out a loan and they need to pay back that loan, and the residents are the ones who end up doing that. and it's about $180. At least at the time of this recording. It shouldn't really go up unless something major changes or happens within the community. Um, but I mean, compared to a lot of the neighborhoods and a lot of the communities that are in the greater Orlando area, I mean, in $180 for an HOA, which depending on where you're from, might sound like a lot. It is a little bit on the higher end of HOAs. It's not too crazy high. There are ones that are much higher than that. But for what they do have, I mean, it does bring good value. At the end of the day, it's one of those things that you have to decide for yourself. If it's really worth it. Would you rather, buy in a community that doesn't have all these amenities and build your own pool, and then go to your own gym and things like that, or would you rather it all be in the neighborhood and done for you, something you don't really have to think about or worry about? And it might really appeal to you in particular if you really do enjoy connecting with people from your neighborhood and your community. Because at that point, when you build your own pool, you'd have to basically invite them to your house and do all that kind of stuff. And you have teenagers or kids, they'll always be bringing their friends over. So it just depends on which way would you rather have it. Would you rather have it in your own home? Would you rather have it at the community center? Would you rather meet people there? Because that's the other thing, if you get a new neighbor, it's a great place to meet. It's a kind of like a neutral zone for you to really get to know those people that live around you. So, I mean, it just really just comes down to preference. Because, even if you didn't buy here, I mean, a lot of neighborhoods still have HOAs. I mean, I think the least expensive one that I've seen in a newer neighborhood, a brand new construction neighborhood, is around $60, $70, and it doesn't really offer really almost anything. Maybe a pool if you're lucky. And then maybe obviously there's resale neighborhoods. Now those you might find with a $200 a year HOA. But again, those, they're not exactly the same, they're not built out the same way. These are older neighborhoods. They have different things going on in them. And really, it's just going to come down to your preference and really seeing these neighborhoods to see whether or not those would be a better fit for you, especially if you don't like paying for, an HOA and sending money basically to an organization that manages the neighborhood or anything like that. There are obviously different advantages that come with those HOAs. And at the end of the day, the only real way to see what would make sense for you and your family, for your budget, when it comes down to amenities and what you want to actually pay for and pay into, is really just reaching out, because there are so many neighborhoods throughout the greater Orlando area that have, different access, different kinds of access, different kinds of amenities, different HOAs, different fees. It'd be better to connect, to really have a conversation where, it can really connect you and put you right in the correct location. Because oftentimes what I see happen is many people will see like a price on a home on a website, and they'll be excited for that, only to find out, hopefully before they buy and close on the home, that, it just doesn't really work for them, or there's somewhere better that really had a lot more to offer them. So that's why I would say that, yes, definitely don't hesitate to give me a call. Don't hesitate to reach out. Send me an email. You can ask me questions. You can even drop them down in the comments. I'd be happy and more than glad to answer them and really, explain where these neighborhoods are. Because, I mean, right now, Orlando, it's gone through a lot of growing pains over time. Not necessarily growing pains, but more growth spurts. And because of that, you have neighborhoods that are built out by different builders that offer all kinds of different access and all kinds of different things. And often more than not, they're not built in these community development districts where they're well organized and large. Sometimes they're built on, a smaller lot. And, by smaller lot, I mean one that has maybe 200, 300 homes. And it's just one small neighborhood. And you'll have these spread around throughout or different areas of Orlando that make up much of Orlando. And the only real way to know about them, the only real way to learn about them, is to either see them yourself or talk to someone who really knows about them. So again, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. All right, so behind me, you have the site of the K2A that they plan on building over the next year or so. It's slated to be open somewhere between either for the 2025, 2026, 27 school year. So it's coming fairly soon, maybe just a couple years out. Still plenty of time for the young ones in the lower grade levels to definitely take advantage of here, since it is a school that goes K through 8. And so what's great about it, obviously, is the fact that it's built right essentially in the community. I mean, you can walk easy to school here. It's just down the road from some of the homes that are already built out. Another key thing I like about this neighborhood really is the fact that this particular builder, D.R. Horton, they're a production builder, so they're not going to give you a lot of customization. That's a given fact. So that does contribute to two things. It contributes, one, to the price. So again, this neighborhood does have a lower price point than the majority of brand new neighborhoods, especially ones with the amount of amenities that this one has. And then the other thing it does is makes it so that really you're not waiting, 12, 14 months for your home to be built out, because they're waiting on a particular tile or something that you order at the design center. Instead, you're really looking at build times of 3 to 4 months. And honestly, I've seen homes close out, from contract to close in 15 to 30 days. So, I mean, if you don't want to be waiting a long time for a brand new construction home, then this is probably going to be your best bet. Now, other builders that are a little bit more custom, what they'll do is that they'll have spec homes, or homes that they build out, with the assumption that, hey, someone is going to come in and buy it. Oftentimes you don't get a lot of customization, if anything, on those, and then in that case you might be able to get a little bit more customization. Now, typically with those other builders that are more customized, when they build those spec homes, they build them out with some of the higher end features. So I mean, you might be building out a home that's not quite custom, but you'll be still paying that, very custom price. In fact, much higher typically, because what happens with a lot of these higher end builders is that, they'll have several tiers, and in those tiers, they'll have one tile at the lower tier, and then middle tier, and then higher tier. And you'll see that, they'll be like, oh, this beautiful, great, amazing tile that is on the higher end tile. But then you have something very similar on the lower end. Well, on those spec homes, they tend to pick the higher end. So you're paying like maybe $150,000 more than what you might have if you yourself designed it. And then, another disadvantage of that is the fact that you don't get to pick it out. It's not exactly what you would have wanted. Well, with this builder, you don't really get to pick. Well, you don't get to pick anything at all, really. I mean, I've seen sometimes that they do allow you to pick the color of the cabinets, but that doesn't really happen too often, because their goal is to build these homes out quickly. Now, because you are buying at a lower price point, what I tell many of my clients is the fact that, hey, at the end of the day, you're buying at a lower price point. Odds are, in a few months, you'll be able to pull some of your equity and actually use that to make minor changes that would be a little bit more custom, that could cost you a lot more with another builder. So that's what's really nice about this particular builder. That's one of the things I do enjoy. It's not custom, but it's quicker, and because it's faster, you're not paying these high prices from them choosing these premium materials to build the home out. So I think that's a huge advantage. Speed and savings. Now, this is just one of the many master plan communities in the greater Orlando area. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about another master plan community that is actually in its early phases, you'll want to go ahead and click on this video right here and watch this next.